Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll wait a minute or two for everybody to join. Maybe while we're waiting for anybody else to join, maybe in the comment section, introduce yourself and talk to me a little bit about how you guys currently might be managing time off calendars. Getting some good responses. A lot of people are creating their own manual calendars in Office 365. Some people are doing the same with Google. Some people are saying they don't even have a time off calendar. Great. Well, I think we're in the right place then to have a quick discussion about why visibility is so important in terms of time off calendars and other productivity aspects. So hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Joseph Hammett. I'm head of sales at HRCloud. And today we're going to be looking at something that sounds quite simple, but impacts your entire operation. And that is visibility, especially on time off visibility. So it's not just managing requests, right? We can do that through payroll. We can do that through lots of systems. And it's not just approving those PTO requests. That's easy to do. We're doing that right now in lots of different tools we're probably using. But it's truly solving the daily frustration of where is everyone without having to go into payroll and run reports and things like that. And do we have enough coverage today to make sure we meet our productivity goals? So in 2026, visibility essentially is productivity. And if your managers are still asking HR, who's out next Friday or whatever other day, we kind of need to fix that. So today I'll show you how a centralized PTO or time off calendar changes how teams plan, collaborate, and operate. All right, so first let's talk about what we want to do today. So these are the things we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about the hidden costs of poor time off visibility and management. These include scheduling conflicts, coverage gaps, not being able to meet project goals because people are off, and the last minute scrambles to fill those teams when somebody falls out. Second, we'll break down why traditional PTO and time off processes fail even when you have an HR system in place. Third, I'll show you what actually can work. Now, that's a shared centralized PTO and time off calendar that gives managers and teams real-time visibility. Then we'll pause for a live demo of how HRCloud's time off solution and calendar can integrate into your ADP tools you might be using, other payroll systems, to allow you to have an easy, seamless time off calendar. After that, we'll walk through a practical implementation roadmap. And finally, we'll open it up for question and answers before wrapping up with next steps. So let's start with the real problem. So everyone's organization has this moment. A manager walks into a meeting and realizes two key people are out. Someone else checks Slack or Teams or Google Hangouts and asks, wait, who approved this? HR gets pulled into coverage questions that have nothing to do with strategy. The issue isn't PTO or time off. The issue is visibility. Nobody knew about these things. So when time off lives in emails, spreadsheets, payroll systems that aren't connected to calendars, managers, supervisors, and teams can't plan productivity. They just have to react to what they see. This leads to scheduling conflicts, overtime costs, burned out employees covering last-minute gaps, and frustrated managers and supervisors. And the worst part, most companies think they've solved the PTO and time off problem because they have a request form. But a request form is not visibility. It's just a process. So let's be honest. Most PTO systems just focus on approval workflows, time off balances, time off accruals, not operational planning. The common issues we see are, first, managers can't see team availability in one centralized view. Second, employees don't know if multiple people are already off before submitting a request. Third, HR ends up as the middle layer, answering availability questions all day. Who's out? What day? Can I take this day off? And for companies using ADP and other payroll systems, you might be tracking balances correctly, but you still don't have a simple visual team-based company-wide calendar. That's where shared visibility changes everything. So here's the shift. We're going to move from managing requests to managing visibility. A centralized PTO and time off calendar does 4 things. First, it's real-time team visibility. Managers, employees, the entire company, if you want, can see who's out at a moment's notice. There's no guessing. There's no digging through emails. There's no checking other systems. It's right there in your email or in your calendar. The second is conflict prevention before approval. So if 3 people are already off and you can't have a 4th person else, well, that 4th person can already see that they should even put in the submission. It'll be denied. The third is department level planning. So leaders can view availability by location, role, or team. And then it's a seamless integration with your HR stack. So you're not replacing ADP's time off tools or other time off tools you might be using. You're extending it. It becomes a branch of this tool you use where those time off requests and approvals and everything that you're doing work the same way. It's just once they're approved, they're showing up in a shared time off calendar that you can pull up from Office 365 and Google. This allows you to stay compliant, not have to change your system, and improve your visibility. So when everybody can see the same calendar, coordination approves overnight. And this tool can be set up in just a couple of minutes. So now let's pause our discussion on time off calendar and see what it actually looks like. So I'm going to show you a few things. First, how an employee can put in a submission if you're looking for a tool to do the submission. But again, you might be using a tool already and you can connect this calendar to it. How managers can see team availability in a centralized calendar and dashboard. How approvals work if necessary. And how this integrates directly with tools you're using like ADP. So now balances stay aligned automatically and your time off calendars are integrated. So watch how quickly visibility eliminates confusion. So let's jump in. So basically, if you're using your payroll system or another time off calendar to manage this, you're just going to do exactly what you do now. You're going to make that time off request in ADP as an example. It's going to be approved by whatever your approval process is. We're not making any changes there. And then that time off will automatically flow in to our system via calendar. So here we see that time off request that was made in ADP, your payroll system. I can see this. I can drill this calendar down by different departments, different divisions. So I can have multiple team calendars, division calendars, department calendars, company calendars, and individual calendars. So I can always check this. I also have an absence tracking grid that allows me as a manager or a supervisor to easily see who's out and what days. I can see how many people are out on a certain day to make sure that I am staying compliant with my productivity mandates. And the nicest thing about this is I don't even ever have to go to this system to see any of these things. I can actually pull this up right from, in my case, my Google Calendar. In your case, it might be Office 365. Here I have that same time off request. All I did was do the time off request in my payroll system like ADP. It's now flowing into my system. You can configure custom calendars there. And then I connect that calendar with your Office 365 or Google Calendar. And all I have to do is pull up my calendar. I'm already here checking my emails, checking my meetings that I need to attend, like this webinar today. And I can easily see that my coworker, Tina, is off on this certain day, or anyone else. And if this is not something I always want to see, I can toggle it on and off, much like we do this with our coworkers' calendars in Office 365 and Google. Now that's really the main use. You don't have to change anything that you're doing. You do the time off request in your tool, it flows into the system and gives you your shared time off calendar in your calendar of choice. Some customers do need something to help with time off requests, so that can be done here as well. So I can go right into the same system. I can put in a time off request, either from myself or from a manager, and you allow it on behalf of someone else. It can go through the appropriate approval processes, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to show up in your time off calendar in the tool. And in this case, you're moving the time off stuff to here. So if that's needed, we can certainly help you there. But most importantly, what we're going to do is not change your process and just allow you to easily and effectively transfer your time off requests into a shared time off calendar. All right, so let's talk about how you might be able to roll something like this out. You don't need a 6-month transformation project. You only need a really quick conversation. So here's a simple 3-phase approach. The first phase is checking it out, getting it set up. This is something that generally lasts just 1 to 2 days. If you need to set up leave policy, it might take a couple weeks if you're using it, but if we're just using the calendar, it's just a matter of connecting it to your payroll system like ADP, and then configuring your calendar visibility. So maybe you want a team-wide calendar, maybe you want certain people to not be able to see everybody's time off requests, so we're just setting up those permissions and scopes. Usually a couple-hour meeting with your account manager, and you're up and running. The next phase is the pilot phase. This is where you might launch it to one department or one small business. Lots of our customers will launch it out to the entire team as well. But what you want to do is gather feedback here. You want to train managers on how to do it. You don't really need to train them to do much of anything if you're moving the requests not away from your system. It's just now it's going to show up in your time off calendar. And then last phase, if you didn't do a full team rollout, is to roll it out to the entire team, usually after a 30-day period. And this enables company-wide access, turning on the centralized calendar views, tracking uses, and ultimately a high adoption rate. So most teams see measurable reduction in scheduling conflicts within the first week or 2 weeks, or up to a month. So let's talk impact, right? So when companies move from spreadsheets or email-based PTO tracking to a centralized calendar, 3 things happen fast. First, there's less conflicts. Overall, overlapping absences drop because employees see who's already out before submitting requests. So you don't even need to take time to review a request that would ultimately be denied anyways. Second, it's going to lower your overtime costs. Managers plan ahead instead of scrambling at the last minute to call someone in. Third is it's time saved. Managers typically reclaim 3 to 5 hours per week that were spent answering availability questions. Also, we see that some customers might have a time off calendar already in place. And in that case, often there might be an HR person who's going in there and every time there's a time off request is manually putting it into a shared time off calendar that they've created in Office 365 with Google. In this case, that is completely removed. You do your time off request, it moves into the calendar automatically so that however much time, depending on the requests, that person might have been using is no longer there. So now, if you're using ADP or another payroll system that we have a connection with, it becomes even stronger. We sync directly to it. Balances stay accurate. We're not even touching them. Employee data flows automatically. You don't have to manage 2 systems. And they continue to be your system of record. Just your time off requests are now flowing into your calendar of choice seamlessly. That's where the real ROI shows up. So now that I've talked through time off calendars, I'd like to open it up for questions. So whether you're using ADP or another tool, or you're managing PTOs through spreadsheets or paper forms, or you're just looking at automation tools, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We can discuss integration specifics, compliance, multi-location management, reporting and visibility, or just general implementation timelines. Happy to go deep on whatever matters most to your organization. Great, so it looks like we have our first question. So what visibility gaps do companies using ADP usually face? So this product was actually originally developed for our ADP mutual customers who had the need of seeing a time off calendar that was company-wide. So we've been told in ADP, managers can see their direct team time off calendars, but there's not, like, the CEO is unable to see everybody's time off calendar or who's out and when, and they want to be able to see that. So that's where we come in. We built this tool to make it very easy to flow your approved time off requests into a calendar of your choice, and whether that be a global or team-wide or both or combination thereof, very easily able to do that. So you no longer are just confined to the manager-specific calendars that ADP offers in-house. You now have company-wide calendars. Great question. So another person asked, how does visibility prevent overlapping time off requests? Great question. So most of the time in traditional systems, I don't know when my coworkers are off until they're off. Maybe you have it in there that there's like a in your payroll system or HR system, there's a little thing, oh, he's out, or in calendar, they say they're off and now they're, blocked out and everything like that. That's how you find out, but you don't often know this until the day it happens. So with our system, you could be proactive. You can see it in the calendar. You can see it at the time off tracking grids. You can see it even in your Google and Office 365 calendar through the integration. All right, another question is, how long does it usually take to roll out a centralized PTO calendar? That's the best thing about this in general, is if you're using this just as a time off calendar, you don't need to really set up anything. It's generally just a quick call with the account manager at HRCloud to set the tool up. What they're going to do is make sure the integration is working. So if your approved time off requests are properly transferring to ADP, it's a couple-minute discussion, and it's just about setting up your permissions and showing you how to enable the calendar integration. So this is literally something that you can have set up and working seamlessly within a couple of hours. Any other questions? All right, I haven't seen any others come in. So let's replace confusion with clarity, right? So if your managers are still asking who's out next week, your system isn't working to the best degree it could. A centralized PTO calendar is one of the fastest operational wins you can implement. Like I said, just a couple of hours, you can have something like this in place. You don't need to replace your HR staff. You don't need to change your processes. All you need is just visibility. So if this is something you're interested in, you can go to a website, book a meeting. You can email me sometimes so we can discuss this. And we're looking to eliminate any blind spots. So you can reach out to me directly at joseph@hrcloud.com or go to our website, hrcloud.com, and book a meeting to schedule a personalized walkthrough. So let's replace confusion with clarity, turn visibility into productivity. Thanks for joining, everyone. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a nice day.